The purpose of the Global CFO Council is to provide an educational and networking forum for senior financial executives in order to share best practices, discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their jobs.
Good afternoon, Anand. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you, Robert. Great to
Well,
see you.
it is my pleasure to have you on today. I'm excited. And Anand Soni is the Group CFO at AAB Tools Group. And Anand, it looked very impressive. A real group of companies in everything from retail to manufacturing to metals to oil and gas and more. It was very impressive, the breadth of services that that company provides out of Dubai. And Anand is both a CPA and chartered accountant and a frequent speaker and writer. I've read several of the uh, posts that you've made. I really enjoyed them and just recently watched your interview on CFO University. Great job. And excited to have you here. You write a lot about being a leader, a leadership in global finance and strategic turnaround. So I'm honored to have you here. Thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to share about yourself with the rest of the CFO Council members?
Sure. So, Robert, as you mentioned, I am working as Group CFO in Dubai, UAE. But if you look back, my niche expertise has been over the years managing diversified businesses for family-driven groups. So whether it is manufacturing, contracting, construction, retail, distribution, e-commerce, petroleum, interior fit out, stock market, health sector. So Robert, give me a business, I will handle. So that is how I define myself. My core expertise is give me a business I will handle. And I have been at the CFO, group CFO level for about almost 10 to 12 years. I have been in Middle East and for more than almost 22 years, 22 years. And in UAE, I've been for almost 6 years. You see, apart from my professional, what I mentioned as my niche, one thing I always feel very good about is I love professional speaking. I've been a fairly well-known global speaker. I do participate in conferences, summits, as and when I get chance. And people do ask me, Robert, interestingly, many times that public speaking is supposedly people feel shy, they feel fearful about public speaking. And why do I love it? My answer is very simple. I really de-stress myself when I get a chance to do professional speaking or a talk like this, or a panel session or a solo session. And the other thing is also I have realized that you meet so many people, you learn so much. Robert, there's such intense learning when you hear other people speaking, and that's a knowledge. And then I do write. I'm a strategic writer too. I keep writing my blogs, articles at LinkedIn. And I do also engage in sometime mentoring. Recently, our Chartered Accountant Institute invited me to have an interactive talk with the young chartered accountants to make them prepare for the future. So I did it. So this is what I am, a global group CFO handling diversified businesses. Give me a business, I'll handle. Professional speaker, strategic writer. And there you are, Robert. Happy to have more from you.
Let's pull the string on writing. I know that you're an avid writer. I've read some of your articles. Anything in particular, anything recent, or do you have a particular favorite subject that you've written about recently that you'd like to share or talk about with the CFO Council members?
Yes, there are two topics which I have written pretty consistently, I guess. One is a professional topic, and second is a non-professional. I think I'll probably go a little deep dive in both of them. First, let's talk about the non-professional topic. I always have been a fitness freak. I used to always keep myself workout, exercises. But probably before COVID, it never used to be a consistent affair. I probably will go for 45 minutes, 50 minutes a day. and then take a break. But when COVID hit us, I realized that one of the very important things we all need to do is to maintain our physical fitness. And I feel happy when I look back and say, look, over the last 14 months, I haven't taken one single day break. I haven't taken a single 1 day break in my consistent workout. I go for running from 6 a.m. in the morning till 7:10, 70 minutes, and then do some stretching. Now, I'm so passionate about this. It makes me, I look forward for it every day in the morning. Look forward for it every day in the morning. And this was one topic where I wrote a lot in a couple of my blogs. And I said, look, we must do something in these times, and consistency is the key. You see, discipline, consistency. So this is one thing which I have really impressed upon, and I would suggest we must do that. That is one topic which I have consistently with. The other topic which I have written, spoken about, and at various conferences and even in podcast interviews like this is on business CFO. Now, as you mentioned, CFO University and its founder, Steve Roswell, he had talked with me on business CFO. That was in January last year. And then we had some other people also. Now, what is this business CFO, Robert? You see, is it a different than a normal CFO? People often ask me. And my response has been that, look, the role of CFO has undergone a significant change, say, over the last 5 years. Why so? Because typically the businesses have become difficult and the traditional role of a bookish CFO is no more valid. And CFO, I would imagine, before COVID also, had two broad benchmarks, so to say, to manage. One was the risk side, and the other side was the growth. Now, though these are two opposite terms, risk and the growth, but the expectations from the board and from the ownership always has been that the CFO has to navigate the growth of the business and the risk. Now, what does that exactly mean when I say growth of the business and risk? It simply means that if your business, say, is into survival stage, you take it to the next stage, which could be, say, growth stage. If you are in growth stage, you take to the next stage, which is the acceleration stage, right? And if you are into acceleration stage, you take it to the next stage, which is the consolidation stage. Now, these are the various phases of a business, and a business CFO is required to get this thing done. That is one part. The other part is the risk. Now, wearing the hat of a risk, so you need to assess risks. You need to assess a risk mitigation, assessment, and measurement. Now, Robert, if you look at these two aspects, the risk and the business, taking it from one phase to another, and more so someone like me who has been handling diversified businesses, then I think the only option as a CFO, if you have to meet these two broad benchmarks, then you have to be a business CFO. Now, which means what? Which means exactly what does that mean, a business CFO? Well, a business CFO is someone who goes deep dive into the business, financial, and the commercial nuances of various businesses, whether they are related or unrelated. Now it doesn't mean that you are supposed to understand each and everything. No, not exactly. A business CFO is someone who is going to go only to that extent which helps him in his financial and commercial understanding of the businesses. And I'll just share with you, if you allow me, one or two examples on just to drive amongst our members about drive this point about when I say go deep dive. You see, some years back, maybe early some years back, I was handling a business where we had a manufacturing business. Now, normally you see, Robert, we finance people feel that, look, in a manufacturing business, the cost of goods sold. So you have material, you have labor, and you have other expenses. So the general feeling is, look, we can't do anything on the cost of goods sold because we are not production experts, rightly so. We are not manufacturing experts. So how can I suggest that you have this product mix or you should go for this manufacturing process? We are not experts. Then what I did was I went to the shop floor, understood a process to an extent, right? Went back to my P&L, looked at the various costs, and then went back to the production team and said, look, can we do something on uh, cost optimization, value substitution, product mix changes? So by my having ability to go at the shop floor, taking the pains, understanding those technical nuances, and then discussing with the production team, helped in suggesting a better commercial way of doing a business. Just an example. And the other example, which I can very well share, is say on a retail trading distribution business. Now, we need to appreciate as finance professionals the difference between retail and a distribution. Is it a B2B or is it a B2C business? And in one of my organizations, I was asked to give a decision for the board to decide on whether we should close one showroom, whether we should not close one showroom. So typically, if it's a B2B business, for example, interior fit out, where you have furniture houses, in which case probably your thinking will be different. And if it is B2C, when your business to end consumers like health sector, medicines, where your end consumer is not a business house, then your decision will change. So I think these are the few aspects of business CFO, and I'm happy to go till deep dive for our audience. Yes, Robert.
Anand, what about the best advice that you have ever received?
Well, the best advice which I have ever received actually has been compete with yourself. And I tell you why I feel it's the best advice. Probably when this advice was given to me earlier, maybe I didn't appreciate it. But then as with experience, I realized that the only way you can progress in life, both professionally and personally also, Robert, is when you compete. And the beauty is when you start competing with yourself, first you are very positive. You have to be positive, otherwise, you're willing to accept mistakes of yours. So if you make a mistake, you own it, and then what happens? You learn, unlearn, relearn, and then learn. So learn, unlearn, relearn, and learn. If you believe in this, and I don't think these are bookish concepts. People often ask me, do you think it's bookish? I said, no, it is not bookish. So this advice progressively has helped me to know more, a constant urge to learn more, happy to own mistakes, and willing to learn from a 2-year-old toddler also, and from a 90-year-old man also, not a problem. I think this is something which I cherish, and I always suggest, even at my workplace also, compete with yourself.
Anand, what about a new tool that you've recently started using or a habit that you've recently picked up that you have found beneficial?
A recent tool which I did was Robert, more on the financial modeling, because as I mentioned to you, I have always handled diversified businesses, yeah, and doing a financial modeling for a diversified businesses is a challenge. And let me explain why it is a challenge. Robert, people often mistake financial modeling as an exercise to arrive at some worksheets, some numbers, and some conclusions. But as group CFO, I don't look at it from that angle. For me, financial modeling has to relate to your business. Otherwise, it's just numbers and just pages. So recently, I think in the last 40 to 45 days back, I did financial modeling for the different businesses which I explained to you. And so I went deep dive, used the different financial tools. And the reason I feel it was good was that what worked, say, for retail business didn't work for construction. And the net conclusions which came from that exercise, I had to relate to business. And I did share that work and these tools at LinkedIn about, I think about the last month or before, giving a model. And then there were a couple of questions which people had asked, so I responded. So that's a tool which I think at least is relevant in the COVID times. A differentiation between financial modeling to a business for diversified businesses. I like that. I loved it.
And on speaking of that, those diversified business and your current
Yes.
role as group CFO, what's your favorite part of your current job?
Well, it's a very tricky question, but yes, I will answer. Again, COVID times, everything has changed. You see. But if one thing which I love, very challenging, but I love, it is managing with the stakeholders. And again, there's a reason. As group CFO, your priorities are still different than what I mentioned initially as a business CFO or managing a risk and business. Now, Robert, you are required to manage the mayhem. As simple, as blunt, howsoever, whatever it looks like, you're supposed to manage the mayhem. And this financial mayhem actually is actually on a daily basis. Today you would not be in the position to comment whether it's more a survival issue everywhere. Now put together, you have business, you have risk, you have managing mayhem, survival issues, quarter, 6 months. Now when you have this sort of scenarios and you are holding diversified businesses, then I think much more than what you know about a particular business, the most important point is how do you convince your stakeholders? And when I say stakeholders, there are two broad categories. One is your internal stakeholders, which could be your board. Okay. The other is your external stakeholders, which could be banks, lawyers, your debtors, creditors. And I mean, for me, even you are my external stakeholder, Robert, so to say. So managing this internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, I think, in my view, has gone a complete paradigm shift in the COVID times, which is the most challenging part, but very interesting. Because what works for a banker may not work for your board. And what works for a board may not work for a lawyer. Now, there are 3, 4, I won't say tricks, but something which which has worked for me, and I want to share with our members. One is when you deal with your internal stakeholders, the board, if you are fully prepared with your facts, figures, logic, and have persistence, patience to go and meet them and ready to listen to them, you got to be a good listener. Because if you're not a listener, you are just speaking out. As they say, God has given us 2 ears and one mouth, to listen more and speak less. So you've got to be, when you're managing stakeholders, you have to be more a listener. And then communicate your points with solutions. Robert, what I've seen is if you don't give solutions, then the ownership doesn't listen, the board doesn't listen. So you've got to provide them solutions. Also provide the ownership, what is the worst case scenario? Because in my view, paranoid succeed anytime, but more in COVID times. So long as you provide the board with your solutions, worst case scenarios, I think you can manage them well. And then, of course, you have different skills required for external stakeholders as well. Yes.
I love that concept of managing the mayhem. I think that that is, I feel like, the best description of my job as the CFO of lifecycle engineering I've ever heard. I'm going to steal that. And the first time I will give you credit and then I'll act like I made it up. That's a great phrase. I love that. Managing the mayhem. So true.
No.
And what about something personal that you wouldn't mind sharing about yourself with the rest of the CFO Council members?
Well, I mean, I have I love two things: fitness, as I mentioned. I'm a professional speaker. I love those two things. I like it. But there are few things which I've learned over a time. One which I mentioned, but there are one or two more things which I believe, and I'm pretty possessive about focusing on the end results. Now everyone is. I'm sure everyone is. But for me, it's more like mm, at times you will find me breaking the processes, procedures to get to the end results. And I have a little belief about what is self-belief. And some people say that it is what I'm going to say now is a bookish concept, but again, just coming out from Robert, from my experience and whatever I've seen, both sides, personal and professional. So here's my take on self-belief, something which I've tried to practice in any walk of life. It is self-belief is yours, Robert, and so long as no one can take it unless you allow it to be taken by others. And I really mean each and every word of on what I'm saying now. Self-belief is something to you, and so long as you don't allow it to be taken by others, no one can take it. I also like traveling, and I like to see new places. Actually, I'm coming to States in July. My son is there. He did his college there, so we haven't met. So yeah, I'm in US. God willing, if everything is fine, yeah, we should be there in first July sometime. Let's see.
Where did your son go to school? What state in the US?
He was with me in the school days. He went to Penn State University
Okay.
and he did his industrial engineering. He cleared his engineering last year. And actually, Robert, I was supposed to come to US last year. It would attend his convocation, but then you had this COVID, so it was an online ceremony. Yeah, so from 2016 to 2020, he was in State College, Penn State, and we did come to US in 2016 to drop him there. And so I'm really looking forward to for this trip. Actually,
Well, that's very exciting. I have a son that's just about to start college. And
yeah,
so it's a little exciting and scary, but it must be quite a joy. And congratulations to your family and your son for graduating a fine university with a degree in engineering. Very well done. And
where? What is your son? Which university is your son in?
it's in the state of South Carolina. The university is called Clemson, and he's
Okay,
getting a degree in computer engineering and computer science.
okay, excellent. I have got many friends in US professionally. As I said, I have the Steve Roswell, the CFO University CEO, close professional friend, and there's so many. So let's see. I'm looking forward to probably meet you and all whatever to meet. I
Yeah.
love meeting people actually. I really love meeting people. I like meeting people because there's nothing more than meeting people. It's so great to know about people, to love people, and to know what people are doing.
Yeah. Well, when we finish the interview, I'll find the dates that you're going to be in Pennsylvania, I assume. And my company has offices in Philadelphia, so I might have to have a reason to go on a business trip and have
Absolutely,
lunch with you. So, well, let's pin
absolutely.
that and let's do our last question. Question number
So,
6. It happens so fast. Anand, what's something that we should have talked about, but we didn't? And what is your answer to that? Something I should have asked you, but I didn't.
Uh, you didn't ask me uh, what have been my failures in life, where I think I could have gone back. You know, change. I wish everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not an exception. No way. So I also have a bunch of my mistakes professionally and personally too. So no, no. So I mean, if we have to discuss it, probably it will take a couple of hours to go through that. But yeah, you didn't ask me that question. Where did I falter? And I did falter, both professionally and personally. Everyone does.
Yeah, I think that's really important to be able to admit to ourselves, and to others that I think that's really powerful to say that, that Robert, have made mistakes both personally and professionally. And I don't have to be stuck in the past. That the present and future Robert can be better and smarter than past Robert. And but I need to learn from past Robert and then just maybe not do that again. But I think that's really powerful. And Anand, and I really appreciate what you brought here. And I saw a theme around consistency and discipline, organization. I really love that idea of competing with yourself, waking up every morning and knowing that maybe the greatest risk to success to Robert is Robert. If that's true, the greatest opportunity for success uh, is Robert. And the financial modeling, that's a great concept. And I loved what you had to say about business CFO. So I really appreciate you speaking with us today and taking the time out of your schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. I just want to share a punchline for our members, which I do it every time actually, and I think I have to do that.
Please.
Otherwise, it won't be complete session from my end. And there are 4 P's which I strongly believe in. And again, it is across the walk of any walk of life. 4 P's. What are the 4 P's? Patience, passion, persistence, perseverance. So patience, passion, perseverance, persistence. I think these 4 P's, and again, these are not bookish. I don't believe any bookish concepts. These are all practical, and I try to imbibe to the extent possible. But I think those are relevant, those are important, and I think this is my last message, which I always delivered at any such session all the time. So strongly believe in this 4 P's here, and it has been great talking to you, Robert, and giving me such excellent opportunity and so incisive questions you've asked me, and I hope our members have liked. I hope so. And I'm happy to interact with them if they have anything further to discuss with me. I'm always available on my WhatsApp, emails. I think, people got to communicate quick. So anyone who writes to me can expect a very quick revert from me unless I'm sleeping. So you can expect anytime. Unless sleeping time, you can expect a communication from me very, very quick. And I promise that. I promise that.
Well, we'll allow that. Dubai is 8 hours ahead of me on Eastern Standard Time, I believe. So we allow
Yes.
sleeping time if I ever reach out and you don't respond. And just when you come to the U.S., we'll have to. I'm going to try to schedule a time. When I hit stop recording, I'm going to see when you're going to be in Pennsylvania. But then I would love to make a trip to Dubai. That's on the family wish list. And when I do that, I'll have to reach out to you and meet up if you're available sometime.
Of course, UAE is a great country. Dubai is a great city. I love the city. And it's a great country. Have you ever been to UAE?
No, not yet. We love to
You must.
travel, but
You should.
we haven't been there yet.
You should. We have a Dubai Expo coming up in this October. A lot of business activities expected. A great city, a great country. So you must come to this place.
Well, we close on that. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Thank you, Robert, for your time and appreciate it.